As a digital marketer, I've been noticing and speaking more about something that feels kind of irrelevant to the marketing and services that we offer. But I'm realizing that it's one of the more valuable pieces of the puzzles when it comes to my client success. And it's something that you would expect from a coach or a mentor, but not a marketer. And so while it feels pretty natural in the moment, it actually feels more unnatural when I step back and think about how much it seems to seep into my everyday chats with my clients. But it's simply just holding up a metaphorical mirror for them. And I know that sounds pretty fluffy and like feelings based and all of that stuff. So let's actually break down what I'm talking about because I spend so much time speaking to and working with my clients. And for the most part, it's a lot of strategy and optimization conversations. We get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening in our programs. We're workshopping through the to be expected bumps that come with running a business and marketing programs. And so, as we're talking through those decisions, untangling what's stuck, I've noticed that there's a pattern that keeps coming up. Now, objectively, my clients are incredible. Like, they're so cool, first of all. But also, more than that, the businesses that they've built, the brands that they're building, they're just so genuinely interesting, so valuable, so cool, so fun. But at the end of the day, humans are humans. And especially now, living in a world where you can open your phone and immediately see someone else doing something so similar, but with a bigger audience or more years in business, or like a team or person who seems to have it all figured out. It's so incredibly easy to forget what you actually bring to the table and why that is the game changer. And as someone who lives this myself, because I've also built a business, I know this feeling intimately because it will make you second guess everything. So, like, is this really a good idea or business model? Does anyone actually need this? Will they even care? Why should they pick me or my business or my product when they can go to that person, that company, that service over there? And that imposter syndrome and second guessing is something that I've experienced since my first big girl job. And because I always love to take you guys on a walk down memory lane, straight out of college, I started working at Office Depot's corporate headquarters. And while I loved the money that I was making compared to anywhere else I could have gotten a job in Florida, it was quintessential corporate America. So think the heavy fluorescent lighting, pretty buttoned up culture. I mean, I've talked about it on other episodes. And it just altogether wasn't necessarily my dream job. And even though I personally love office supplies, it was not the cool place that I ever imagined myself working since I had always had big dreams and assumptions that right after college, well, first of all, I thought I was going to school at NYU, but too expensive. That's a story for another day. But so then when I didn't move to New York for school, I thought I'd just be moving there right after college and I would get some big glitzy job, probably more like grunt work job in beauty or fashion or at some big magazine. So to then instead go into the relatively safe, decently boring route that was Office Depot while also dealing with the public perception and commentary that I tied myself to a sinking ship, it made me feel a certain kind of way. But I will actually say that this was one of the coolest jobs. I got the most exciting and exhilarating experiences while I was there because my first campaign, literally on day one, I was thrown into our back to school campaign where we were partnering with Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. And then my second back to school campaign after that was where we were doing a whole product line and marketing campaign with One Direction, where not only was I writing social content for them, but I also got to go meet the guys. I got to sit in on sound checks and was placed second row at their concert in Miami when they were starting the American leg of their tour. So really fun. And then beyond the celebrity pieces, I also started their influencer program and in the sense of what influencer marketing and programming is today. I started their Instagram and Pinterest accounts and I was fortunate enough to make really cool, really powerful content that brought me across the country, eventually across the world, and made people feel something moving and powerful from, an office supply retailer. So objectively, it was a really fun job and really cool. But still, I couldn't shake the belief that what we had to offer still wasn't good enough. It wasn't worthy of being treated like a real partner when I was negotiating contracts with influencers or weighing in on which celebrities we should partner with for upcoming back to school seasons. But there was this standout moment that happened when I was in my boss's office at the time, and I was negotiating rates and deliverables with an influencer. And I caught myself shrinking when talking to him about it, my boss, not the influencer, because I started treating her, the influencer, as if she was doing us a favor instead of a mutually collaborative, mutually beneficial program that we're both excited to be a part of. And that's when my boss at the time pulled me aside and reminded me of a very simple but very powerful truth, which was we also have incredible things to offer her. We were providing her the visibility of hundreds of thousands of new eyes. We were getting her face and projects into hundreds of stores across the country. We were paying her really well to create something that she'd probably be creating anyway. So, this whole time that I had been putting her and all the other influencers on a pedestal because I just thought they were so much more fascinating and creative and forward thinking than we were, I had not so quietly forgotten that this was a partnership, not a handout to us. And so that reminder really started to change how I showed up, not just in that negotiation, but in nearly every room after it. Because no matter what the actual thing was, whether it was what Office Depot has to offer or what I have to offer, it gave me the confidence and it reminded me to always ground back into who I am in all of this and what I have to offer. So it turned into me pitching and securing bigger creators. I started building out more ambitious projects. One of my favorite was we partnered with a local arts high school and we had their students design an entire fashion line out of our products. And it was unreal what they created, like truly out of this world, should have been on Project Runway. And they were just so creative and so mind blowing that the CEO literally displayed them in the lobby for every single employee of the corporate campus, every single vendor, every single visitor to walk right by them as they came in for a whole month. And he had never really done anything like that before. And the reason that I bring all of this up is because I can see those same exact moments of doubts and putting themselves down pop up for my clients. And clearly, I get it. Like, it's human nature to compare yourself to the larger group. And unfortunately, oftentimes put yourself down in favor for other people. But personally, I would not be working with any of the clients that I am if I didn't wholeheartedly believe in not only what they're building, but also how they're building it and who they're being as they build it. So, whether it's officially in the scope of work or not, it's to notice when their self belief starts to dim and flicker a little bit and help them reignite it. And so, to make this more practical, I want to share two recent examples of conversations that I was having with clients. So, the first one, she is an influencer, and her growth over the past 2 months has been genuinely wild. Like, I met her the week after she went from 300 followers to 30,000 followers. And by the time this podcast comes out, she'll probably be at least at 45,000, if not above 45, inching up to 50,000 followers. And beyond that, she has a monthly reach of about 20 million impressions. And so she knew that she was organically building a meaningful community, but she wanted to be able to turn this passion into a real career. And she had no idea how to do that. So it's just so serendipitous that we happened to meet when we did. So at our first strategy session, I asked her to walk me through what are your biggest hopes and dreams and goals for all of this. And it was so nice because she obviously knew that she had a following that was so invested and deeply cared, but she wasn't sure if it was enough and if it would be interesting enough, meaningful enough, insert whatever enough into the blank for brands to take notice and care about her and want to partner with her, particularly because it's her dogs that are technically the influencers. She's in it too. But part of what it is there's a whole luxury travel and lifestyle approach to this. So it's just a very niche, very unique world to be in. And so now for me, coming from the experience that I have on the brand side, it was an obvious yes. But in talking to her, I could feel and could tell, and she said, that it just still felt a little bit out of reach and maybe not yet realistic because she was comparing herself to bigger, more tenured creators and maybe quietly deciding that the big, luxurious partnerships that she was dreaming about weren't available for her just yet. So we sat down, built a plan that was actually grounded in who she is, what makes her and her community so special, what actually excites her so that she'll be able to show up for it every single day, day in and day out, regardless of how things are going, and what fits into that overall ethos and vibe and experience that she's building and curating through her content. And so now, just as important as the tactical plan was, though, I realized that what was so important was to really hold up that mirror for her and remind her of who she is, how powerful of a following she already built on her own and has really nurtured and cultivated and expanded upon even further in such a short time. And I knew that from all my experience of yaying and naying countless influencers for all these different brand projects, how lucky the right brands would be to work with her and tap into her community. And so we talked about that. And we had really meaningful, really deep, really sweet conversations about it. And the really clear, this is exactly what you need to present to them. This is what's going to resonate. But like, also, don't you dare forget everything else that you're bringing to the table when you are talking to them. And I kid you not, the literal next day, she was already in conversation with a private jet company because she's in Florida right now, but moving back to New York. And we were talking about, like, well, how do you get there? And how do you get there in a way that makes sense and is in line with what you're trying to build? So I was like, what if you reached out to these airlines? And then when you get there, what if you reached out to these companies to actually pick up you and your dogs and bring you to your apartment? So to actually be in conversation with this private jet company about flying her and her dogs back to New York at the end of the summer was unreal. Even for me, I was so pleasantly shocked by how quickly that came to be. And then week after that, she had already landed her first brand partnership with this product that she already uses and loves, just happens to be local, but she didn't realize until she started the conversations with them, where they're sending her free product for her and her dogs to create content from. And they've also built a revenue share, which is incredible because it just keeps building on the work that she's already doing. And so while I am obsessed with her business wins, what I'm most proud of is her belief in what's possible for herself and how that just completely 180'd. And like, don't get me wrong, like she was already a confident, sure of herself person, but this was a new world for her. And it's just so natural for like, oh, well, I know how I can show up in this area, but sometimes we lose that, like, oh, I'm not sure when all of a sudden you're doing something new. So the fact that she did it and she ran after it and she is just grabbing these opportunities by the horns, the sky is not even the limit for her. And now the second example. So if you guys have been listening to the past few episodes, I've been talking about this company a lot, but Good Brood and Emma, she is building an entirely new product from the ground up and creating a category that does not yet exist in the world. And so it's been a wild ride because when you're building something from scratch, you don't really have a playbook. So she's been deep in research, sourcing ingredients, ensuring that they are completely free of things like phthalates, parabens, various fragrances, BPA, all of this stuff that you and I know nothing about, but we know probably shouldn't be in kids' products or even the products we're putting on ourselves. She's also having to determine her fulfillment teams and going back and forth evaluating different scenarios. She's having to work with partners to do stability testing of the formulas and ensure that the packaging is both sustainable and safe. And so ultimately, it's just this disorienting amount of work on top of everything else that comes from running a business. Oh, and also, she still has her regular PR job, and she's a mom of two 7-year-olds. So, Homegirl has a lot on her plate and on her shoulders, and also has an incredible husband supporting her, hands on all of that stuff, but still. So much. And so now, from a marketing standpoint, it's so exciting. Like, I've created so much content about how what we're doing is genuinely working so well. Like, she's growing about 1,000 followers a month. She's reaching more than 200,000 accounts monthly. She's building a healthy email list. And like most beautifully, she's getting this pretty constant stream of really heartfelt comments, messages, emails from parents telling her that this is exactly what they've been looking for, that they could never find, and why it means so much to them. And so while I'm constantly celebrating the successes that we're achieving and constantly being like, hey, reminder, like you're doing really great, I also completely understand that technically knowing that our numbers are good does not eliminate the hard days or the what the frick am I doing thoughts that come up when you get the annoying comments or the naysayers or whatever wrench gets thrown into your plan. And so, yeah, there's still plenty of moments where when you have to put out yet another fire, sometimes it's easy to kind of pause and be like, do I really want to keep doing this? Or is it easier for me to just kind of stop right now? And in both of these examples, these are the moments where the marketer hat gets pushed off to the side and the fellow business owner comes to the forefront because I get it. Like, I know the exhaustion that comes from building something from nothing, trying something you've never done before. And even though I haven't personally lived either of these exact situations, what I found more than once is how the act of someone simply reminding you how much you've already done, how far you've already come, who you are, and why you have everything it takes either on your own or you know where to find the right tools, help, support, resources, whatever. Sometimes that's all we need to just kind of give ourselves that break, put things in perspective, and just keep carrying on. So, here's what I want to leave you with today. Whether you're an established business owner or you're building something brand new, if you're listening to this, I bet that you have felt some sort of version of what I just described. Whether it's the quiet comparison, the forgetting who you are, what you've already built, how far you've come, you're looking up the rest of the path of the mountain that you have to go, and you're just like, do I have it in me? I know all of it. But I'd also be willing to put money on the fact that you're probably doing much better than it feels like on those tough days. So, firstly, I want you to take a minute. Literally, I want you to stop right now, even if you have to pause this episode. And I want you to literally list out your wins, both big and small. And if you go back to how I support myself and my mental health through all of this stuff, I intentionally spoke about how I'm trying to actually be held more accountable to recognize and celebrate the little wins as well as the big ones. So I want you to stop and actually take account of them. And even more importantly than that, I want you to allow yourself to actually ground into them and feel proud of each and every one of them, especially the ones that you would never notice before, because it is all too easy to just kind of neglect them and just keep moving on to the next thing that needs your attention or the next big hurdle we're trying to get over. And then, secondly, I really want to encourage you to make sure that you do have the right people in your corner who can both help you achieve the goals you've set out for yourself, plus also remind you of what's actually true on those days that feel harder than they should. Sometimes that person's a coach, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's your parent, your partner, and then sometimes it can super randomly be your marketing girl and her team. But wherever you find it, please don't go without it because it is invaluable for your ability to lead and continue to put yourself in these uncomfortable, but necessary positions and experiences and continue to grow and evolve. Because running a business isn't for the faint of heart, but you don't have to do it alone. So I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you all soon.